Okay. Okay, so really quick, guys. What we're gonna say. Observe, so sometimes the world is gonna try to pull you from your spiritual place into the physical, like the physical understanding of the physical world. What does that mean? It means that you have to always understand and remember, because we live in a physical world. We're spiritual beings. Everything starts first in thought, which means that the power of the world, all is mind. Okay? The power of the world resides with your thinking and your feeling. Your ability to influence this world resides with your feelings. Okay? So this world will oftentimes, sometimes, or you can say always try. Hey, we're not using absolutes here. This world will oftentimes attempt to pull you from your spiritual world, your spiritual belief, okay? That's a little happy face there. Into the worldly physical thinking of the world, or worldly thinking, okay? Which I don't want to say worldly thinking because then it sounds religious. Not that I'm not trying to be religious right now. I'm trying to make a metaphysical demonstration point. Not demonstration point. So what I mean is that the world you live on, the world that you live in is like, okay, the world you live in is like an illusion. Yes, it is physical. Yes, it is real. What do I mean by illusion? The world that you live in is a product of your thoughts from yesterday. Your ability to like influence the way things are in the present have to do with what you're thinking today. You will influence your tomorrow. So I don't want anyone to think that the reality is not the reality and, something magical or something like that. Okay, when I say illusion, I mean, it's oftentimes when they say, if you have an issue with a tree, just address the roots of the tree, not the fruit of the tree, okay? If you spend your time on the fruit of the tree, you'll never get to the root of the situation. If you kind of are grasping that. If you're having challenges in the now, in the physical world, okay, we're all energy. That's what I'm trying to get at. Yes, you're real. The world is real. Yes, okay? You can touch it, you can feel it's real. I don't want to make it seem like it's some kind of, magical, something like that. What I'm trying to point out, and those are my headphones there. Sorry, I put them when I'm not having them on. What I'm trying to say is that you create your today by the thoughts you thought yesterday. And this world will oftentimes, I kid you not, sometimes it will try to direct you to worry. Again, I use this. Your stock just dropped. It just plummeted. Oh my Lord. They'll try to put the blame on you. This is what I mean. When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. If you're asking for higher power guidance, you're asking for guidance from God, you're communing with God, you're meditating, you're asking for guidance from friends and family, and tempering that and balancing that with your spiritual guidance, be it your invisible counselors. That is what Napoleon Hill terms as meeting with like Lincoln, Kennedy, any people, past or present, that you admire, okay? Because the thing is that we're all energy, which means that we're eternal beings. What that means is that energy cannot be destroyed, it cannot be created. So it's ever present. You can seek the guidance from any number of wise geniuses, past, present, and usually the advice is incredibly right, because I've done that and it's always right. So simply, and see, Napoleon Hill said I was embarrassed to say that, because people say, oh my God, he's so crazy because he's meeting with these people that aren't real. But the thing is that as I say, what would Jesus do? And you say, oh, you're talking to God. You're talking to God. Okay, what would Jesus do? And that's the same thing, as saying, God is a spiritual being, because we say we don't see God. Of course, God's in all of us. God is in every human being, the homeless person, the female, the male, all beings, kids, babies, animals, trees, grass. God is in all things, right? In the air. So we're spiritual beings, and that's why we are saying that we meet with spiritual advisors. It's just like talking with God, okay? So you're just calling upon, you're asking advice, just like asking God what to do. God's not present. God's not like walking in and opening the door, okay? Or is he? And in the sense that, we're not trying to get into, well, we're just saying that if an individual enters, or if let's say the wind opens the door, maybe that's God directing you to something, okay? That's an example, okay? And we're not trying to get too deep into that, just to say help is always there by praying and meditating, okay? Now, the world that you create is created yesterday. Now, and the world will say, yeah, it's your fault. Now, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, which is seeking the guidance outside of yourself, seeking higher guidance, then you're in the right place. 222, all is well. All is well. If you aren't, and God is directing you, go do this. A lot of times, and people will tell you this, a lot of times God will tell you to do something, or the higher power, or a hunch, or that little voice. These are all God, intelligence, universal intelligence, which is looking out for you always, 100% of the time. It's always right. And whenever it tells you to do something, a lot of times we brush that off and don't listen. Listen. It's always a small little whisper. My mom says the more you listen, a little bit louder it'll get. And the less you listen, the quieter it'll get, okay? So listen to that little voice. I have learned it's always right. And a lot of times people will tell you that it seems nonsensical. I get that from Kevin Trudeau. Kevin Trudeau has a course called Mega Memory. And he says that in order to memorize things, it's got to be nonsensical to the mind. So when you watch these Super Bowl commercials, they have a sense a lot of times of nonsensical. So because if something's nonsensical, it causes the mind to remember it. So, okay, like a giraffe riding a tricycle, juggling. Okay, you're gonna remember that because a giraffe riding it. Okay, riding a tricycle, juggling, or one of those little things with the one wheel. What is that? A unicycle? Oh my gosh. Okay. Now, if you can imagine that, it's kind of adorable. It's funny, right? That's how you memorize names, because he's going to peg or place phonics, like T, D, ta, da, na, ra, la, on these elements. And then you remember the name by the nonsensicality, and you're going to peg it on someone. So if they have brown hair, then you maybe, and not to say that this person is a giraffe, but you'll put brown hair on the giraffe, long brown hair. That's memorable. So you would say, every time you see this person, you'll say, okay, giraffe, and then you remember the name. Because, and I didn't do that properly, but maybe her name is Geralda or something. Now that's not proper. But it would help you to remember. Now, that's not proper at all. It's not exactly how he does the course. I definitely recommend it. It's called Mega Memory by Kevin Trudeau, and it helped me. And in my science class, I memorized all these scientific names and processes, and it was great because we were just walking along. I was in a summer camp for science, and so we got college credits. And then so we're in this, and we're just going up this mountain thing. It's just a wonderful camp. I think it was Upward Bound program. Either that or I was in 2. And then they told me you can't be in 2. I was always in these groups. And so I went to these summer camp things that they had, these Upward Bound summer camp. It's math and science. So I'm walking with this teacher who I love. I think her name was Mrs. Pleats. I love my teachers. So I'm walking with my teacher, and I'm just asking all these scientific questions. And she's telling me the exact scientific name, and I'm memorizing every single time she says it. And then she writes, oh, very inquisitive student, my thing. And I'm so happy. I'm like, yay, And I've always spent my time with my teachers, and I just love that. So Mega Memory, I definitely recommend that. So So we're talking about why the world. Now, if you're doing what you know you're supposed to be doing, asking for guidance, then you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Sometimes God will say things that are nonsensical. I remember Ray Lewis saying, something told me, okay, now, and my understanding of that is God told him, run and touch this guy with 2 hands and then run back. So he did it. I believe, now this may not be minute to minute accuracy, I believe they won the Super Bowl, okay, that year. God will say go left when there's nothing there. And God, I can't go left. The only road is right. God knows things we don't know. So sometimes we just must listen. If you are going through challenging times or just everyday life, and the higher power or the universal intelligence is telling you, the small voice within the we voice is saying to you, do this, then I really would like to encourage you to listen to that voice. I would like to point out that if you are doing that and doing what you're being directed to do by your inner voice, then you're on the right path. Even when people are saying, you're failing, you failed, it's all your fault, nah, okay? Any number of ways you're doing that. You know that you're in the right place, okay? Now, the outside world demonstrates, okay, there's a story. I want to say this. There's a story in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. It's about an uncle and a nephew who goes digging for gold. And Napoleon Hill says, more gold has been mined in the minds of men and women than has ever been taken from the earth. They went to dig and grow rich, okay? Now, they did find gold, went back and got an investment to pull out more gold, and then they weren't able to find any more gold. So they gave up and they sold it to someone. Now, the person they sold it to for like pennies on the dollar got an expert and found that they were just 3 feet away from hitting gold. And had they kept going, they likely would have hit gold. So that person became a millionaire. The nephew learned from that experience and another, okay? So the other one is a little girl. So it's called 50-cent lesson. So it's a little girl, she's a sharecropper, and she wants 50. Her mom told her to go retrieve 50 cents from the owner of the sharecropping farm. And he says, get out of here. You know, a little kid, get out of here. And she's like, yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. But she doesn't move. He looks up, she's still there. He says, you must get out. So eventually he's going to approach her and she takes one step forward and says, my mama says I have to have my 50 cents. Okay. He goes in his pocket and hands her the 50 cents. Now the nephew watched this and watched the uncle sit down and look out the window and just kind of contemplate how that little kid kept their determination to not give up and not quit, even when the odds all were against this little kid. So that wasn't going to win. You know, it's an adult. In the movies, Avengers and all these movies we watch, the odds are always against them. There's always a greater power on the other side. And they always win because they never give up. They keep a nice, happy view of the world. Now, a lot of people say, oh, that's the movies. That's not real. Don't believe that. Okay? That's what they'll say. Don't believe that. That's just the movies. Oh, ha, ha, ha. That's fairy tale. That's what I'm saying in the movies. That's just not real. Come on. The Avengers, come on. But the thing is, even while people are saying that, they're paying billions of dollars to go watch it. Now, this is how I look at it. An individual that says, that doesn't make sense, you're watching that movie, it's not real. Why would a person pay $1 billion to watch something they didn't think was real? Because so a person would say, you're crazy. You're crazy for believing that that's real. They're the Avengers, they're superheroes, they're comic books. It's not real, okay? But wouldn't it be crazy for someone to pay $1 billion watching like Cinderella? Which we do. Oh, I'm doing it for the kids. But why would you take your kids to go watch something that's untrue? The reason why we watch Cinderella is because it's based in truth. It's based in learning to have loyalty, humbleness, honor, duty, selfless service, personal courage. Okay? True. That's why we watch it, because we know there's an element of truth. We watch Avengers because we know that we are the Avengers. Okay, we are the, not to avenge something, we're forgivers. We are the forgivers. We are superheroes because we understand that if we just don't give up, we will succeed. And that's why I watch these movies, because it is true. It is true. It's written by humans. And there's a superhero in you, and there's a superhero in all of us. We know that it's true, and that's why we pay billions to watch Cinderella, okay? And a lot of people say, oh, those cartoons are, but they're written by adults, voiced by adults a good portion of the time. And even if it wasn't, it's based off of our own laws. It's true. It's true. It's basic truth that if you're kind and loving and keep believing in your dreams, which is every single fairy tale and superhero movie, you'll succeed. Oftentimes it appears, or the odds are, it seems the odds are against you, and all of these things. All you have to do is not give up and make sure that you're listening to your higher power. Now, the energy will oftentimes try to say, you're going straight downhill, you're plummeting, it's not going to work. And a lot of people saying to Ford, to, Edison, well, I don't know if they said it to Edison, but definitely to Ford. It's not going to work. Oh, well, they said it to Edison when he did the voice machine, which became the voice recorder. Come on, nobody's going to buy that. Give me a break, okay? And then the other side, he spent all this money on nothing. Ray Kroc, I believe, in the way it's portrayed in the movie, his spouse was saying that to him, okay? So we say that to say that the world is going to come from the worldly side. Hey, you spent all this money, that's a fact. You haven't gotten an answer yet, that's a fact. You may fail. I mean, to them, that could be a fact, okay? Because for us, we realize that there's just temporary failure. That's it. And we're not considering anything else. Why? Because why? Why? Well, this is of no benefit to you to consider a failure. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to change the strategy. It doesn't mean that we're not going to change our approach or the person we're asking. Let's say, okay. We're just not going to give up. We're going to continue. Sometimes you need to take a break and go back to the drawing board. That's okay. That's healthy too. Now, all of this while asking our higher power. Sometimes our higher power says stop when we think we should go. Sometimes our higher power says go when we think we should stop. It's important to listen to that inner voice, okay? When you're doing that, the world may say, everything's going wrong, oh my Lord, and it's your fault too. Now, let me tell you what to do. Give up on making this car thing and let's save the last pennies we have, Ford. Ray Kroc, stop trying to franchise and give it up and go back and sell these multi-mixers, please, so that we can have a living. Stop trying to break the 4-minute mile thing and just stop doing that because you're losing. And a lot of people do that. You will know from your inner voice that all is well. And you will know from your inner voice that you are on the right track. No one else will be able to see this sometimes. That's okay. Well, the reason why I'm making this is just to help you to resist the temptation. Don't be drawn into like an argument or proving your point. Just understand that everyone is, they're saying what they're saying from the outward view. As long as you are inner directed appropriately, and of course, before you take any advice, check with your own advisors, as long as you know that your little navigator is pointed exactly the way it's supposed to be, all is well, okay? So, and when I say all is well, I mean, we're at ease. We're understanding that all is well. We're at harmony. We're at gratefulness. We're thanking God for all of our many blessings. And we're staying the course that we're being told to stay on. Before you quit, before you give up, before you change career paths or anything like that, close your eyes and take a moment alone and ask your inner voice and your inner guidance, your God, the universal intelligence, infinite intelligence, the subconscious mind. You're asking, sometimes you want to say, God, what is your will? Let your will be done. What would you like me to do? What is it for me to do? This is what I want to do. What do you think about that? Sometimes we need to ask that question. I want to do this. What would you like me to do? And I found that sometimes God will say, do this, and we don't agree. So we just do what we want. It's important to go ahead and have that conversation. Argue if you will, argue your point, get clarification. God, so sometimes, okay, you're going left. God will say, go right. And you know, that can't be right. God wouldn't understand I have to go left. So you just go left. So you're not really listening, or in this case, me, I wasn't really listening. The individual. You, of course, are always listening. When that happens, God says go left. You have already planned to go right. So you're like, I know God didn't mean go left. I'm just going to go left. Sometimes you need to just gain clarification like you do with a human and just say, God, if I understand you correctly, you just told me to go left. You know that I need to go right. Why did you ask me to go left? What would you like me to do? Why did you ask me to go right? I'm going to go left. God's going to say, sometimes God will tell me, I can't tell you why. Can't explain it, but you need to do this. And God will keep arguing your point. God will make it very clear because God's not shy. And I've heard other people have different philosophies. So I guess you do this within the philosophy of your religion or your, and it's not, and so it could be spiritual and not religious. It's just your relationship, your own personal God. It's not, while God is everyone's God, this is your own personal God. When God made you, God was not looking upon any other human. God was making you personal unto God. So this is your personal God, your personal God is there for you, there for you. When you have a question, there for you. You have an answer, there for you. You have a thought, right there. You don't have to put an appointment, wait in a line, nothing. Because God's right there for you. And how can God be there for me when God's there for everyone? Because God is super duper. That's why. God's amazing. Because God loves us all. And because it's in the spiritual world, you can do that. I don't know any other. Maybe I shouldn't try to answer that. Maybe there are theologists that are like, we have tried to answer that all many years. We haven't been able to answer that. So no one should ever try to answer that question because that would be crossing the line of theology. Don't try to do that. No one knows God personally, so please don't talk for God. Don't put words in God's mouth. I know because I talked to him last week. So truly, I guess you make your own decision because I don't know. And I'm not trying to question or go spiritual, but that's just how I feel on that. So all we're talking about is if you are checking in with your inner voice and it's telling you to continue trying to build an automobile and it doesn't exist. And you believe it, or like the Wright brothers. Everyone talks about these individuals who kept believing and succeeded. There were many people besides the Wright brothers who were trying this. And I don't know if pre-Ford, during Ford, or after Ford. Definitely after Ford, there are a lot of people trying to put together different vehicles. All I would say is keep believing, use your inner guidance. That's all I would say. And the world will try to pull you out of that and say, you're going the wrong way. What are you doing? Stop where you're ahead. You're spiraling down. It's time to worry, feel bad, feel sad, and even know it's all your fault. Now we've lost everything. Why did you even try? Okay. If you haven't been doing what your inner voice has been telling you, that's a great time to check in. It's a great time to say, things aren't going so well. You had asked me to go left early on. I didn't go left. I'm here now to ask, what would you like me to do? God may be like, go left. We never know, okay? Either way, all of your challenges are here to bless you, and they're here to, to give you a journey so that you can learn and bless other beings by helping them on their journey, okay? So I love you, you're awesome, and keep being wonderful. Mwah!